We've got an absolute treat for you today. The Red River rivalry is the biggest game in the Week 7 slate in college football and one of the biggest games in the entire football season. It's ABC 3:30 with Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and Holly Rowe, and we're thrilled to sit down with Fowler as he prepares for this massive matchup between Oklahoma and Texas. We'll dive into all the storylines, including Arch Manning, the Texas offense, Steve Sarkisian's quest to turn things around, and the John Mateer situation. I also want to remind everyone, Saturday night, it's our staple, the live reaction show. Mention I'll be breaking into 4 primetime games. We've got Michigan, USC, Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, LSU, and Florida, Texas A&M. What an unbelievable run of games we're going to have on Saturday night. So come hang with us on YouTube late Saturday evening. But as we stand right now, just 197 days till the NFL draft. Mensch, you good?
I am stoked.
I know you are. One time, Tuck. There he is. Are you finally recovered, my man? Taking a deep breath after that September U.S. Open, college football, Corso's well-deserved tribute. I feel like it was a grind that September. You taking a breath now?
Recovery is scheduled for February 11th, whatever the day after the Super Bowl is, which we call for the international fee. No, grind, but a fun grind. I always say that. Look, people say you do what you love. You never work a day in your life. We work. We work. You know how that goes. Yeah. But it's fun work. It's a fun grind. It's a challenge. I mean, I think it got the best of me. The nexus of U.S. Open and CFB was pretty tough. My voice was trash for one of the Monday night games I did at the end of the run there because
Monday night too. I didn't even mention that.
I didn't sleep. There was a sinus infection, all that stuff. But we've recovered. We're good to go. We've had our stride, midseason form. I got 2 double dip weeks the next 2 weeks, which means I have my Falcons Bills board on the floor with it blank, by the way. Nothing's filled in yet. We got to get to work on that. But we got OU Texas in the meantime. So
speaking of recovery, how's our girl Holly Rowe doing?
I checked in the next day. Holly is a national treasure. She's phenomenal at her job. I mean, in that game, what you don't know is she got knocked down, she got up again. She got knocked down, she got up again. It was the 2 knockdown rule. Was in effect. She had fallen earlier, before the time that the cameras caught her nearly getting run over.
I didn't know that.
Michael Irvin did nothing to protect her. Well, she didn't advertise it. But earlier, a mic cable, someone's camera had gotten tangled around her ankle. She uses a wireless mic. So somehow a cable, and the guy ran away. And she got pulled to the ground when he ran away. And so she had sent for some ibuprofen from the compound, which had been rushed out to her. She was already on meds when she went down for the second time. And Michael Irvin could have been chivalrous, could have stepped in front, but I know instinctively the playmaker would protect the knees. And we were just glad that Holly has enough experience to backpedal quickly. You know how you do. The first thing you do is you put your hands down, you crouch down, and you protect those knees from getting rolled up, which she did. But no, she was amazing.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here, Chris, and obviously I've like 17 years working for the same company, and honestly, looking back, and I don't want to. We don't have all the time in the world today with you, but I will share with our audience later, kind of some of our history. But I like certain people helped me throughout my career in certain moments, and kind of as you take steps in building your career when you're a young person in this profession, and the support you always provided and the trust you gave to me at GameDay, and you and Kirk and Dez and Coach Corso especially kind of help elevated things. So I'm eternally grateful for that, and just our friendship and going to dinners and all over the years. So it's great to have you on for the first time in the show, man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. It was great working together. If I helped in some way, it's nice of you to say that. I appreciate that. I mean, it's a team sport we do in TV, and the collaboration is one of the great joys of it for me. And people come in with different talents and experiences. You work with them, and your area of expertise is fascinating to me. I got to tell you, this season, I can't tell. So often I thought, what would McShay think? What's he thinking about this performance? about this individual. Like, how much is this guy's stock dropping or rise based on what we've seen? I mean, because that happens every week. The stock goes up and down, and you get some quarterback that's listed at the top of the board in the season. Maybe he struggles. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like, I wonder what's being affected. I mean, I don't think in terms of, it's early in the season. The story hasn't been written yet. These guys have other games to make up for it. They have their pro days and their meetings with teams. So we know they can recover, but you do wonder, like, wow, I wonder if he's thinking that he cost himself money with that performance, because the reality is it happens, right? So
it's been a wild year at quarterback. Well, Herb Street and I text during your broadcast sometimes, so you can always reach out. You are here. I'm kind of like, I think I can really get behind this go for dose thing. I feel like I've lived my life on that premise, but I do want to give you a minute to share and what you're here to promote. And I was shocked by this. They sent a note with this. Teams in college football have already attempted 166 2-point conversions compared to last season's 162. So it kind of ties into what you're doing as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Dos Equis knew that was going to be an analytical trend to go for dose much earlier in the game. No, but it's a great campaign. It's obvious tie-in with their name, but it does bring up the choices that coaches have to make, not just in game-ending situations where it's obvious what the stakes are, but in the first quarter where teams will go for dose, and you get to read that card. We read the card, I mean, way more than I thought it was going to.
Right.
They've come up so often, but because they happen a lot, and I don't know if you know, probably you do because you're in this sport, what the success rate is in college football for 2-point conversions, like one play from the 3-yard line. It might surprise people. Maybe not if they watch a lot, but it's under 50%, just under, high 40s, the success rate overall. I don't know specifically this year because they've gone for it more often. The data hasn't been compiled yet, but I know that in general in recent seasons, it's about 46, 47%. So I'm going to be curious to see. I actually just checked earlier with AI, and they didn't have a ready answer for me over nationally what it is. But that makes it compelling because it's like a coin flip, basically, when these teams line up from the 3-yard line and try to double their money and go for 2.
Well, you're covering the Red River, as you mentioned before. We're thrilled to talk to you about that game as you get ready to go down to Texas and really cover one of like the true gems in all of college football, right? And you got Oklahoma, Texas. I'm curious from you. You always have great perspective on the big picture in college football and what's going on behind the scenes and the relationships you have. When you look at this game and you look at Texas specifically, what do you make of Texas this season and where they are and kind of just the big picture of that program and what they're facing heading into this game?
Well, the first part, I wish I had all the answers. I don't. I'm looking forward to really diving into them as kickoff approaches, getting with Sark, getting with players, because I don't fully understand why they've struggled as much as they have. I was in Columbus. The Lee Corso GameDay tribute was there. I watched the first half of that game on the field. Obviously, I saw a very well-prepared, complex, talented Ohio State defense smother Texas's offense. I saw Texas's defense make some crucial penalties that allowed Ohio State's first scoring drive. And I thought, well, I didn't necessarily expect them to win that game, but I expected them to improve after that game. And I think we've all, Todd, maybe underestimated the difficulty of assembling an elite offensive line. And at a place like Texas where they recruit so well, you sort of assume that you can lose guys like Banks and send both tackles in the NFL and just plug and play. And they didn't, frankly, go to the portal and do what some other teams do. It's now possible to get quality offensive linemen in the portal. You got to pay them. But that was always the challenge in the early years of the portal. It was hard to get those guys to transfer. Now you can. You got to pay them, and Texas didn't go that route. And I think the offensive line struggles have been the easy answer for why they've not put together the kind of start and why Arch Manning has struggled. Part of it's on him, as you know, better than I do. But part of it's protection and the lack of a running game. And it shocks me that Texas can't run the ball well. Baxter's injury is part of it. But I think that, we all assumed that they were going to reload up front and look like Texas. And then they have it. 6 sacks in the swamp is unacceptable. The Gators hadn't generated a pass rush most of the year, as you know. I mean, the defense had been sturdy, had been missing some guys up front. The backups have been playing well. We did the Miami game, but offensively, they couldn't make a first down. I mean, they struggled to make a first down against Miami. They had one decent drive all game. So the part of that loss that surprised me for Texas was how much they gave up defensively. And, I don't know, nobody knows what Mateer is going to be able to do on Saturday or not do. If they're facing Hawkins, they faced him last year. It's a different kind of an attack, but you'd thoroughly expect Texas to be much more stout and better, perform better, be better prepared on defense than they were last week. And offensively, I'm eager to see them against Oklahoma's defense. To me, Oklahoma's played like two real teams. So much like Florida State had played two games before they took on Miami, those stats on the offense were wildly inflated and not really indicative of where they were offensively, and they didn't do much, against Miami's defense. And so is Oklahoma's defense as good as they are on paper? And I think they're good. And I think Venables calling the defense has made a huge difference. They've got excellent players. Are they the best defense in the country, as the numbers suggest? We're fixing to find out, as they say down in Texas.
Yeah, you sort of answered the question I had for you, because it was the offensive line, and watching tape against Florida last week, it seems like it's a chemistry and a personnel issue. It seems like they like you said, they haven't reloaded there, but also players aren't playing together. Backs aren't blocking as well as maybe they could. Tight ends aren't blocking. And, I don't want to let Arch off the hook, because like you said, there have been stretches where he hasn't played well, but there's also been stretches where he's played well. And I guess, what do you do? Is it would you put more of a stress on getting that running game established or getting the pass protection fixed? It seems to me that they do a lot of play action. So it seems to me they need to get the running game going, and that might help them. But I just want to get your thoughts of like the best way to get Arch on track.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm sure Sark's grappled with that. Well, you guys know from the NFL, if you don't have a running game, play action means nothing. So if you can't run the ball, the quarterback's up against it, frankly. A lot of what they do, you're right, you want to be able to get up under center and do the play action game. You want to be able to protect him. They're struggling in all areas. I mean, like I said, you can't be that porous, even in predictable pass situations. Even with the Gators bringing extra stuff, and a lot of it is on him. I mean, you look at the data, you can break down, as you guys know, quarterback pressure responsibility, right, and sack responsibility by position. I've got all the data, and a lot of it is on the QB. A lot of times people think, the offense. Well, no, it's on him holding the ball too long, being too patient, not throwing it away. You want to generate those downfield shots, which he throws beautifully. But there's so much scrutiny. He was never going to live up to the expectations, the hype. We knew that going into Ohio State, and it's been the case ever since. And I think we talked to him, this week. I don't know right now that there's a lot of joy in the job for him. And he's got to be able to. I sound like an older person when I'm talking.
No, I see that. I'm with you on that.
I've known Arch. I've known Cooper forever. I know the Manning. I'm around, as you guys. I'm around them, and I do pull for him because of that, and I pull for him because I'm not making him a sympathetic figure. He's extremely well paid to do his job, and it hasn't lived up. But I want guys to remember that they got into football for a reason, is that they loved it, and there's joy there, and when you're not meeting your own expectations, and that's way more important to him than the outside static, is he hasn't played as well as he wants to play. Can he against Oklahoma? Can a win against Oklahoma fix a lot of their ills? Absolutely. But it's going to be tough and not easy, because Venables and that defense is real. And I think they're not going to be the greatest defense in the world, but we'll see. Maybe they'll prove me wrong by smothering Texas and continue on in the SEC.
So you mentioned John Mateer. I mean, listen, Arch is always a huge story, and Texas in general. But I get the sense as we get closer and closer to this game, and Pete Thamel coming out and saying, well, surgery went really well. Like, first of all, you want to break any news here? You got any Mateer news?
Well, we have our Oklahoma Zoom is later. I don't know if Venables is going to break news for us. I mean, I think it's always interesting the modern miracles of surgery. When you get the best guy in the world, you have the hand surgery done, and it's not the most serious variety, but the thumb fracture wasn't as serious, blah, blah, blah. It's still a thumb, right? I mean, isn't that kind of important for a quarterback?
Yeah, like I'm just like,
I I'm not a expert thrower of the ball, but it seems like that would be.
But you've held one in your hand before, right? I mean,
so yes, it's a gray area. You have to be really confident that you can do it. Can you sustain a shot to the hand? I mean, it's unlikely that that area is not going to be under duress. I thought he played well, Todd. We had the Michigan Oklahoma game down there when he really carried the load, kind of put the team in his back. And I knew coming from Wazoo, and I knew it would be a great fit for the offense. He's a great guy. But is it sustainable going into the SEC grind to have a quarterback take that many hits, run the ball
play that style? Yeah.
Historically, when it's been done over a period of time, it's been done by a creature. It's been done by an alien like Tim Tebow or Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, yep.
Jaden Daniels is a different kind of creature. You just couldn't hit him that often. And you didn't want him taking direct shots either. He did suffer some shots and get knocked out of games and play hurt a lot, more than people realized. And I'm sure Mateer's a tough guy. He can play hurt with that particular injury. I don't know. I mean, I think you want to lighten the workload on him and let him do his thing, but it is such an integral part of what he brings.
Let me float this theory that I've had since the beginning of the week, and I shared with Steve in our group. I think Venables, as a defensive coach, knows the stress and strain it creates, having two different style quarterbacks, right? While Mateer is a runner and does some of those things, like just going back and watching the tape of Kent State, like it is a different animal, this offense, and what they are able to do and what they tried to do with Hawkins Jr. in there. So my guess is, even if there's absolutely no chance that Mateer plays on Saturday, he wants Texas to have to prepare. The time is limited in practice. So if you're every minute they're preparing, I should say, for Mateer is a minute that they're not preparing for Hawkins. So I'm just curious your thought on that theory.
No, I think it's true. I think that's why injury reports are kept secret. You feel like if you can get a 2% edge because they're not sure who's going to be out there, that 2% is worth the secrecy. And they're not compelled to share information anyway in the way that you are in the NFL. So we're not going to know. I mean, I'll know more in a few hours, but we'll know for sure, Friday, Saturday morning for sure. I don't know that it's radically different with Hawkins in there. I just know that I saw Hawkins play against Texas a year ago, and he's capable of electrifying runs, but I think it became predictable and it too one-dimensional, and Oklahoma didn't have much success in that game against a really talented Texas defense that's proven to be a little bit better than this unit so far. But no, I obviously I want him to play because you want their best players to be there. The big games. I hope he can go, but I'm skeptical like you.
If I were to think of one word to kind of describe this Red River this year, is volatile, right? Like, don't you? And that for you and for a broadcast, this is like wonderful. Like, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much pressure on this game always. But then you add Arch in the Texas offense and start the whispers now of what's going on in Texas and Steve Sarkisian and the press conference, and then John Mateer as he played. Like, it just feels more volatile than typically coming into what's already just one of the great rivalries in all of college football.
Yeah, it's my favorite game to call every year. And people ask that. It used to be the whiteout. We can't call Big Ten games anymore, but it's always been right there. I've seen a lot of them ringside when GameDay was there. Got a chance to call some games. It's bedlam every play, no matter who's doing well. So the scene is special. The backdrop is different this year, but it's not been spoiled by the fact that Texas has a couple of losses. There's more urgency there.
Yes,
you're right. It's kind of supercharged on both sides. The team that got handled last year, Oklahoma, Venables wants to come back, and just the way Texas wanted to come back after Gabriel got him before. So that push pull is always a beautiful thing. The rivalry, people say, well, it doesn't matter what the records are. Throw out the records in this rivalry. You know what? The records do matter this year, and they're a part of the backdrop. Texas is in must-win mode. Period. Right? You can't take a third loss.
No, that's it.
And you would have zero control of your destiny. You'd have to have a complete chaos. You'd have to try to navigate back to the SEC championship game in a hyper-competitive conference, starting a race with a serious handicap, they have to win the game. So
Yeah.
that makes it compelling. And I think the backdrop is really different. We talked about the struggles on the Texas side and the fact that Oklahoma, I mean, still has to prove a couple of things, right? I mean, they have looked good. They've earned their spot. But Michigan and Auburn, that's not murderer's row. And then the other games are basically non-games. So I'm really eager to see them perform in this stage. And the plot lines are really cool.
Yeah, I love the contrast in styles and backgrounds with these two head coaches, but wanted to focus in on Venables for a second. Is this the kind of team you expected him to build when he left the Clemson job 4 years ago to take his first head coaching job?
Well, I knew the success in the SEC was going to be tough. I don't know that because there wasn't continuity that Oklahoma had been building their roster and recruiting for the SEC the way Sark's been able to do at Texas. And their schedule is brutal. As you know, it's the same schedule this year with the sites reversed, but they didn't do Oklahoma any favors in the first couple of years in the conference. I mean, they were diving into the deep end, and he's trying to develop this team, and they're just getting murderer's row. The schedule was rough for them, and it's challenging again this year. But I think you expect him to have a defense that's going to be better than the sum of its parts, and you expect the parts to be really good. So I expect elite defense, him going back and calling it. The offensive piece has been a challenge. Continuity has been a challenge, wanting to play complementary football. Everybody knows when you're a play caller for a team that is coached by a defensive-minded guy, it can be challenging. I think Ben Arbuckle's a really bright guy. I mean, when they were doing great, when Mateer was in there, it was like, okay, which NFL job is Ben Arbuckle going to take?
Right.
That was, and it will be which head coaching job, or is he going to be a play call? Everybody was putting him there because he's under 30 and he's having great success, and he is one of the bright young minds in coaching. But again, this game is humbling, and the SEC is humbling. Now, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or whoever you are. Certainly, Sark's been. You're going to be humbled. You're going to be brought down to earth. You're going to have those nights when shit ain't working, and perceptions are going to be changed, and the fortitude of your team is going to be tested. And we're just beginning that. So, I mean, to me, Oklahoma's story is far from being written at this point.
We'll get you out of here in just a little bit. I got a couple quick hitters for you. First of all, I just part of the broadcast that makes it special with you and Kirk is it's also a college football show baked in, and a little bit more so when the games maybe a blowout, but like the big picture perspective and doing hosting College Game Day for as long as you did and doing a phenomenal job. Like you always have a great feel for like nationally, and you've seen a lot of the top teams so far this year. So if I made you the one-man college football playoff, you didn't have to focus on strength of record or most deserving, but in your opinion, you got a chance to hand us the national championship matchup. Who would be your top two teams right now that you would want to see go head to head?
That's a tough question, because I mean the Big Ten is so top heavy, and they really haven't fully collided into each other. I mean,
right.
We went to Penn State and won, and you off that win, you immediately would put the Ducks in that position. It's hard not to put Ohio State there too, but I still, like I said, the SEC, it's a long way to being sorted out, and then once you get in the bracket, like who's equipped to win 3 games or 4 games if you don't get the bye? I mean, Ohio State clearly was last year equipped to do that. And you have to, year one of it was interesting to see, do you fall back on roster talent and depth? Because it matters as you expand the playoff format, as we've seen in the NFL. Sometimes it's just who's healthier, man, who's healthier, and who's got that momentum built up. And sometimes you can take zero momentum after the end of the Michigan debacle and turn it into fuel. So it's a long answer. It's hard for me to say because I wouldn't have thought sitting here at this point in the season, Todd, that the 3 highest ranked teams in the SEC were going to be Ole Miss, A&M, and Oklahoma.
Right.
You tell me, okay, who are those 3 teams going to be? And they're not going to include Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida. I just said, you're insane.
Right.
But here we are, a month plus into the season, and already we've had that shakeup in the SEC. We haven't had unless you count UCLA shocking Penn State and knocking them way under the back burner after being in a position to beat Oregon and be perhaps number one in the country. Look what's happened in a couple of weeks. Now Ohio State, I just don't see them getting challenged. I don't see Ohio State losing for a while. Right. I frankly don't. I don't see them losing in the regular season. I mean, yeah, they got to play Michigan. Yeah, Michigan's been in their head. They're still the favorite in that game right now, going in, pretty solid favorite probably. And then they're in the playoff. Okay, they're in. If they navigate through that, doesn't matter what happens in Indy. And Ohio State has shown that they've got the roster depth and talent to get there again. It's not a very exciting pick, but teams that we thought at the beginning of the season were positioned to be there, like Clemson, quickly have fallen away. So Miami is.
Yeah, I was going to say. I know you're
waiting.
Yeah,
because I tend to immediately go Big Ten, SEC, as you do. The Canes, I wrote back with some people or Miami fans after the game. Are the Canes number one? Is that game put us number one? I said, calm down. It doesn't matter. First of all, I don't even know Mario wants that for his team. They did jump to 2, which surprised me a little bit. I don't know what the reasoning was for that. I mean, they looked good. The game against Florida State was not nearly as close as the final score. They dominated them and then kind of fell asleep in the lead as they do. But at the time, at one point, it was 28-3. So they look great. The schedule sets up. They'll be solid favorites. They got to handle that role. The rat poison, as Cristobal has adopted his former boss's phrase, and Saban taught his former assistants well. And Mario knows that his teams have collapsed. So can they reverse that trend, Todd? Can he get a team ready? Can this be the group? Because the roster changes every year, so you can't hold these guys responsible for Miami collapsing in other years. But it's a strong trend. November hits, they stumble against people they shouldn't stumble against. They don't respond to the pressure, internal or external, of expectations very well. I mean, they're in the playoff list, or they lose at Syracuse from 21 up. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And the entire defensive staff basically is gone because of those kinds of collapses. And so I think this team is very talented. They're very well set up. They have the best front four in college football. They have a guy in Carson Beck that I thought would have a big year. They have Malachi Toney, who's a day one star. They have C.J. Daniels. They have multiple backs. They have an emerging tight end in Lofton. And they got a secondary that I thought was maybe a little bit suspect, but has gotten better and grown on the job and is playing behind a ferocious pass rush that, as you know, can get home with 4 and finish a game like they did against Notre Dame. Finish the game. That's what fascinates me about getting to know the NFL better, is those kinds of things. When you can do that at the college level, when you can
closers
what $50 million guys can do in the NFL, which is go win the game right now with a sack. That is priceless. And Miami can do that. And so they have different ways to win, which is a way of saying that they are the most intriguing team for me, because they're going to muscle up on ACC competition. I think, Louisville at home, and then you look at the rest of their schedule. They leave the state finally November 1st to play SMU, but again, not easy. They can even afford a loss, which is dangerous for them to think about. But I see them as really well positioned. I'd be shocked if they're not in the playoff. And once they get in, how do they handle business?
I know Steve has one last question. He's been dying to ask you. So go
this
ahead,
is
Steve.
Rapid fire. I don't do well with rapid fire. You can ask my wife or anybody else.
Come on, man. I've seen you do 3-hour game day shows without a single note.
I just love the topic. I love the questions because we don't know the answers. But speculation. I didn't really give you an answer to that question.
No. It's exactly what we were looking for.
Yes.
Just kind of because you have a good feel for the big picture. And that's what I wanted to share here.
Sure.
McShay's always telling me about his experiences covering games and telling me stories about where I need to go. I think both of you are big fans of Chuck's Fish. I think that's right.
That's right. Chris Eddings, you introduced me to him. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you could send me or other college football fans to one place for one game to have that perfect college football weekend, where are we going?
Wow. So does that mean like food and beverage?
And it would be sponsored by Dos Equis.
I'll take whatever you can give me.
Again, LSU is a lot of people's answer for a reason, okay? Because they're the food, check the food part,
Yes.
check the hospitality part. The tailgating, assuming it's a night game, which you should go to a night game, is amazing. I've had the tailgate experience both sober when I was working that night and not when I wasn't. I was just, game day's over at 11 Central. The game was much later. I'm out in the mix with people wearing a t-shirt and having a good time. And then the experience, because I've heard from so many people who are from Europe or somewhere else or having grown up around college football, and you take them in there and you see the experience and the insanity of it. You know, the best crowds in college football are the ones where the regular folks act like students, right? If the student section's crazy, which Penn State's has always been, that's okay. On a whiteout, the regular folks are crazy. That's why the environment is different. And that's what makes the SEC consistently the toughest environments to play, because the regular folks get as crazy as the young folks do. And so LSU is that, you know, times 5. So I would say go have that experience if you haven't already had it. There are many other great game day experiences, but I mean, if I had to pick one, that would be it.
Well, we appreciate the Go for Dos Equis promotion that you're doing, and we appreciate your time as always. I'm excited to watch this game. I mean, Red River with all these storylines. It's going to be an awesome Saturday, and I know you'll.
Herb Street makes it. It's going to be a wire shot.
Yeah, like this has become on top of all that. This has become to me. It's become it's Red River, but with this backdrop of. Is Herbie going to make it in time? And you doing the CYA for Herbie and the whole broadcast until everyone gets to take a deep breath.
Game Day was in the building, Todd, a couple of years ago, and he wasn't in the booth when Xavier Worthy took a ball 75 yards on a screen to the house. So the first scored of the first play of the game. You remember the play?
Yeah.
That's when people showed, like this dude is track fast, and he still is. And he was like getting the headset on. He could analyze the replay, but he wasn't standing in position. And then last year, he did the game day picks from the plane. They have to leave Eugene. They have to leave the set an hour early because the math doesn't work.
Right.
And he flew from Eugene to Dallas. It's weird that it lined up this way 2 years in a row. I assume the same plan is in place. But in all the things you were adding about the anxiety and the stress and the subplot of Red River, that's one for me, kid.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, we have a backup plan. There is somebody there doing some prep who is ready to jump in and analyze this game. But in case Kirk isn't there at the start, I hope he is. But it does add some stress.
It's just wild. It's awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, my man. It's always good catching up with you and keep in touch.
Enjoy the program, man. Really, I'm a fan. Keep it going, and let's do it again.
Okay, sounds good.
You bet. See you guys.
There he is, man. What a treasure Fowler is. I mean, he's an
Unbelievable.
His depth of knowledge, but the storytelling and all. I love the whole concept of he's up there in a booth, and the game's getting ready to start, and he doesn't have a clue of Herb Street. Like the mechanics of it, if he's going to be up there, and you've got Arch and Sarkeesian and Mateer might not be playing. Like that is a stressful deal, and you're calling.
Who's the alternate, by the way? I didn't want to ask him, but I want to know who the alternate is.
Usually it gets leaked. Usually it gets because that person is either not doing his game, or it wouldn't surprise me if, like, I don't know, like an Orlovsky, because they're doing Monday night together. So it could be someone like that. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. Chris is always a treat. We'll have him back on, and like I said, he's been, like no one knew me back in the day at game, at ESPN or nationally, and when it was presented to them from Lee Fitting, who was the producer, like he never batted an eye, and I would send him my reports, like our matchups and all that stuff, and not only did he like bring me on. Like we would talk during the week and he would ask me questions, and then he would ask for my scouting rankings, and kind of a friendship and relationship developed over time. And I mean, he just from day one, that man supported what I was doing and what we were doing. And so I'm always grateful for those. I'll take my shots at certain people because they deserve it. But when someone's that meaningful for your career and has been there from the beginning, it's hard not to share that with our audience. So all right, That was an awesome interview. Good to get caught up. So fired up for this matchup, man.
It's going to be good. I don't care. I mean, I know there's questions on both sides. You know it's going to be good. It's always good.
It's always wild. And the hitting, that does the one thing. There's certain games, Alabama, Auburn, Michigan, Ohio. When you're on the field, I've had the pleasure of being on the field for a lot of these big time games. The first thing you notice from like the kickoff, the first series, the noises are the hitting, the striking is different. And so that's going to be one of them on Saturday. So awesome interview. Awesome show. 5 stars, Mitch. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.